Hello everybody and welcome to Project Trade. This is the Trading Highlight Show, all the best bits from our testing of trading strategies. Today we're on a technical indicator based strategy, and in this one we are going to find out what exactly does happen when trend meets momentum, the sails and the engine working in tandem with one another. Two indicators is all we'll need. Firstly, the 60 period exponential moving average, and secondly, the much beloved moving average convergence divergence, aka the MACD. If you do want to dive deep into either of these indicators, we have made videos on both of them, which I'll link in the description. Just a little overview of each though. The EMA, it appears like this on your price chart, and with ours we're taking a price average of over 60 periods. That exponential part means that it gives greater weighting to the more recent price data and therefore less weighting to that old data. The MACD is a histogram which bases itself around two plotted lines. The blue MACD line, which is a 26 period exponential average subtracted from a 12 period exponential average, and the yellow signal line, which is a 9 period exponential moving average of the MACD line. The histogram simply measures the difference between the MACD line and the signal line. So how will these indicators dictate our entry criteria? With that 60 period EMA, if the price is closed above it, then we're only going to take buy trades, and if price is closed below it, then we're only going to take sell trades. So it's just acting as a bit of a basic filter to start us out. That means our prime entry signal will be coming from the MACD, and we are doing the zero line crossover, which means when that histogram closes above zero for the first histogram bar, that is when we will enter a buy trade, and when it does the same below zero, that's when we'll enter our sell trade. Here's a few example entry options for us on this price chart. So where price is above the EMA, we've got ourselves into a couple buy trades there, and then when it's dipped below on the right hand side, we've taken a sell trade from that MACD crossover. And we will still give price to the third candle to catch up to the EMA for us to still be able to enter that trade. I'll explain that here on the same price chart we saw before. If you look at that histogram crossover there by the yellow arrow where it's moving above zero, because the price is still closed below the 60 EMA, at that point we cannot yet enter the buy trade. And then by the close of the third histogram bar, it's still not closed above zero. So at that point we are locked out of the trade entirely. We can see where price finally does close above the EMA, and it's 7 candles in total after the histogram initially crossed zero. That one would therefore be a miss, but if you look at this one here for example, it just makes it across by the close of that third candle, so we would be able to enter our buy trade there. I've just marked the histogram bars as 1, 2 and 3 to try and make it a bit clearer, so hopefully that's understood. Let's move forward to how we can make sure that we don't lose too much money through poor risk management, and we'll be using an incredibly popular tool to help us out with this. It's the average true range. Our video on the ATR will be linked in the description if you want to check it out, but this is what it looks like. It's a single line oscillator, and we'll be using the default 14 period input. What the ATR is trying to figure out is the average price range of the recent candles from top to bottom. How much has price moved in a given period? Because you can then use that range as the distance from your entry price to your take profit or your stop loss. Top left, that's the figure we'll be noting when we enter the trade and what our risk is going to be based off. We are leaving out splits of our trades, leaving out scaling. We are going all in on ratio. It's going to be 1.5 times ATR take profit value with a 1 times ATR stop loss. This is all just a 2% risk of our capital on each trade, so we're never going to be melting down from losses. And a final trick up our sleeve with money management is that if either indicator reverses against us, we will close the trade. So if we're in a buy trade, for example, and either the MACD closes below a value of zero or price closes below the 60 period EMA, our trade is over. It's important for us in this strategy to maintain the signals that got us into the trade to begin with. Just the final notes, we'll be trading the strategy on a daily time frame. A lot of folks do see this as the most consistent time frame, so we'll see how we get on with it. And we're going to be looking for opportunities on all of the Forex minor pairs. Just trading 1 or 2 currency pairs, it might take a while to even get a proper signal to enter a trade. So I think it's important to give ourselves a spread of charts to be able to look at. We're leaving aside the dollar, but we'll have plenty of other currency pairs to choose from, as we'll be looking at the pound, the euro, the Swissy, Aussie dollar, the Kiwi, the Canadian dollar and the yen. So hopefully there'll be plenty of signals out there for us. And we will of course be journaling every trade so we get a fair picture of qualitative and quantitative information to take home with us. Hopefully that will lead us to greener pastures when it comes to building our strategies. That is all we need for the total strategy, so let's get into the platform. Here we are then, it is just coming up to 25 past 11, right at the end of the day, that is PM we're talking. So we've got a full set of information from these indicators that we take at this point, just over 30 minutes before the end of the day. And it's the daily chart. Our MACD is here, our exponential moving average 60 period is here. As we're looking at all of those Forex minor pairs, we've got 21 currency pairs to look at. So I won't talk through every single one of them. We'll obviously look at the ones that have an actual entry for us, if there are any, and any that are just of interest anyway. So we're on the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen to begin with. And this one actually is quite interesting. So if you see, the MACD crossed over here, and now this is the third candle. You've got 1, 2, 3. So because the price was below the EMA to begin with, it has until the end of this candle to get above price, but it does look, however, like it's going to close just below. So if that had been a green day, then it would have been an entry signal, but we will be locked out of it on the New Zealand dollar yen there. And we're getting a signal from the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc currency pair. It is a buy signal, so that's in favor of the New Zealand dollar. You see the zero line crossover happened yesterday, and now by the end of the second candle, we have got that buy entry signal there. We're not going to jump in just yet. We're going to record that pair there, and we'll see if we get any other signals, and then we'll come back at the end. On the New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar here, this is the second candle that is ending positive. That one was just a touch negative there. Price was already above the EMA when the MACD crossed zero and closed over zero. So we don't have until the third candle for our entry. It's only when price is below, and then it's just climbed above for the first time. So no trade on this one. Great British Pound, Aussie dollar, no trade for us, has been coming down, and the MACD has as well, still comfortably above the moving average though. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc has just had a zero line crossover on the MACD to the positive side. However, price still below the moving average, so it's got two candles to get above it over the next 2 days. If it does and closes above there, we will be in a buy trade. If not, locked out. On the euro New Zealand dollar pairing here, and we have just had a zero line crossover beneath on the MACD. Price is below the EMA, so we've got a sell trade here if we want it on the euro New Zealand dollar. That's two pairs then in favor of the New Zealand dollar that are competing at the moment. This is why we make a note instead of jumping straight in. So we'll come back to that one as we've just got a few more pairs to check. On the euro Swiss franc pairing here, no trade for us, but since we're here, we might as well decide which we're going to take. So both trades in favor of the New Zealand dollar. Which one do we want to go against, the euro or the Swiss francs? We don't want both trades. We don't want to just pile up our risk on the New Zealand dollar. And all our tiebreaker is going to be in these situations is what happened on the previous day. So in this previous day, we can see that the euro got stronger against the Swiss franc, which means that we can see the euro as being stronger overall than the Swiss franc. So therefore, we would prefer to trade the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc than we would against the euro. So we can eliminate the euro New Zealand dollar as a trade. And at the moment, we're just looking at the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc pair. But we've got just a couple left to check. Euro Aussie dollar, it's beneath zero on the MACD, but above the price. Definitely nothing available there. Aussie dollar against the New Zealand dollar. The Aussie dollar has been coming down quite a bit against it, but the MACD is above zero. No entry signal for us on that pairing. And that was the last one to look at. So now we know the only trade that we need to take is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Again, we're going to ignore that euro New Zealand dollar one. So let's get the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc pairing back up. And there it is, you see, it's a buy signal. So now let's close this MACD and let's open our average true range. We've got $4,932.29. And again, it's going to be that 2% risk trade. It's just the one trade, there's no splits. And it's a 1 times ATR value for the stop loss and a 1.5 times ATR value for the take profit to hopefully try and get some more gains from it. That means our 1 times ATR value stop loss is right down here on the ATR, 56.8 pips. And you can see our risk calculated on screen now. So let's punch that volume in. And it's the buy trade. That's our trade there. Let's pull up that stop loss, which we know is going to be 568 points. And then our take profit is going to be 1.5 times this value right here, which is 852. So let's pop that in. And so we can see our take profit here right up there. It's sort of at the edge of a resistance level. So hopefully that procs over a few periods and comes back down. And you can see the stop loss there. So now we checked through all 21 of the currency pairs and we have managed to enter one trade. There's nothing else left for us to do tonight. We'll come back around about the same time tomorrow and we'll see how this trade is getting on and see if there's any new entries for us. Day 2, here we are back on the daily time frame with our trade pulled up the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc. It's a good movement in our way, first day, and it's 0.45%, was even more. Looks like it got about halfway there at its highest point and now dropped back a bit. We're still about a third of the way to the take profit, so that's going along pretty nicely for us. Even the swap paid us a little bit out there, so that is convenient. Nothing for us to do here, let it just crack on as is. And we're going to cycle through the other 20 currency pairs now, just to see if there's any new entries or anything interesting going on. Canadian dollar Swiss franc pairing, second candle above zero, price not able yet to get above. Next candle will be the last one, so the next 24 hours, if it gets above the EMA, then we have an entry, but if it doesn't, we are locked out of this move. Similarly for the Great British Pound, Japanese Yen, we're on the second candle here, so it would have to get price above the EMA for us to be able to have an entry signal by the end of tomorrow's candle. Otherwise, we are out of there. Pound against the Swiss franc. If we see a strong green day tomorrow, then we could get a nice identical signal of price crossing the EMA and the MACD zero line at the same point. As is though, doesn't look like we're going to get anything there. This was that Euro New Zealand dollar pair. This was the other currency pair yesterday that we had the choice between against the Swiss franc, and we did choose to go against the Swiss franc. Looks like they would be doing pretty similar right about now. The New Zealand dollar did just broadly get stronger against the currencies. Euro Australian dollar, we are seeing the end of the third histogram bar, and price has not been able to get past that moving average. Hasn't gone anywhere close to it, to be fair, so we are locked out of that sell trade. We need something new down the line. The Swiss franc Japanese yen pair, last 5 days, very rangy, can't make its mind up. Be interesting to see where that breaks to in the end. And we are actually now getting an entry signal to sell off the Australian dollar in favour of the New Zealand dollar. We're not going to take it because we don't want to overload our risk on the New Zealand dollar in case of a reversal. But you can see here the MACD is just about ready to close beneath zero. It's a really strong day for the New Zealand dollar. So that is a would-be sell trade. We'll have to watch out for how that ends up. But as I say, we're not going to enter it. We want to stick to that 2% risk on any given individual currency. And there is our trade. We're just back on the chart now. No extra entries for us as we saw there. The only extra one would have been the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, but we are not taking that. So that means no new signals, which is absolutely fine. We don't want to recklessly jump into any without reason. We'll wait for the system to guide us as appropriate. Let's hope this New Zealand dollar can keep getting stronger, possibly trigger that take profit, get the bank rolling. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. Day 3 then, just after 11:30. I've got our New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade pulled up here. Still going really nicely. Momentum continues in our favour. The price a little bit higher. Nothing for us to do with this one. It's not going to close below the EMA. The MACD isn't going to cross zero. Another day like this and it should proc our take profit there. If it wants to treat it as resistance and bounce off it, that's absolutely fine as long as we take our profit first. Again, now just going to flick through all our currency pairs and see if we've got any entries. New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar, still getting stronger for the NZD, but no signal for us. Pound continuing to weaken against the New Zealand dollar. Definitely not getting a signal there, but again, this trade looks like it would have been very nice to have been in on. Again here, the Great British Pound getting weaker still against the Aussie dollar. And there is a lot of downward momentum. That's going to cross that moving average soon. Pound yen pairing, price couldn't close above the EMA. If it had, that was going to be our last candle that we could get a buy trade in if it passed that price. It looked like it touched the EMA, but it's come back down. So no entry for us on the pound yen. Pound Swiss franc, it is closing above zero on the MACD, but price couldn't make it over the EMA, so we can't take that zero line crossover. The EMA is filtering out that signal. Euro against New Zealand dollar, this was our other trade. And today it wouldn't have done as well as our New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade has. We gained quite a bit more, but this one has stayed about flat here. So currently looking like the better trade to be in the Swiss franc one. And the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, surprisingly, the Aussie dollar getting quite a bit stronger against the New Zealand dollar. These currencies are battling it out. It has done a zero line crossover above zero, but it's still below the EMA prices. If we had been in that sell trade yesterday, it would have kicked us right out of it today, so a bit lucky there, saved by the Swiss franc. So that's it for all our currency pairs. No new trades today. We just keep this trade still going. Hopefully, let's get that little bit more momentum It's about half, 2/3 of the way there now, somewhere in that range. We'll be back again tomorrow. Day 4, 11:23 p.m. and good news doth the chart bringeth. It has hit our take profit today. Let's bring it up. And there we see that is a very fortunate run. We caught it just as it crossed over the EMA at the same time, closing beyond on the MACD. It's a great trade. We managed to get 3 straight days, very lucky, right up there. And we've taken off 83 pips for it. We had a 2% stop loss at 1 times ATR risk value. And so because our take profit has triggered at our level of 1.5 times ATR, we have made 3% from that trade. Does make us feel like a fantastic trader, like we finally nailed it. That's still the only trade we had going though. There's nothing else open at the moment. So let's have a mosey on through our other charts and see if we've got any new signals. Great British Pound, New Zealand dollar. Again, the pound is weak against the New Zealand dollar, which seems to be trumping all currencies at the moment as we see the pound sell off. No signal. Pound yen, no signal. It has just crossed above the EMA, but it is the 4th histogram bar on the MACD, so we needed it yesterday to be able to take that trade. We are locked out of this one. Well, the Great British Pound Swiss franc, that is giving us a signal because price has just closed above the moving average, and this is only the 2nd histogram bar to close above 0 on the MACD. So we've got at least one entry signal. We're just going to make a note of that one for now. We're not going to dive straight in, but that is the pound Swiss franc. Euro against the New Zealand dollar. We had the option to take this trade and it does continue against the euro. So we'd be getting pretty close to the take profit if we hadn't taken it already today. So we know that our trade with the Swiss franc was successful. There's a good chance this euro one would have been as well. The Swiss franc yen, the rangiest of all the pairs this last week and continues to be so. Alternate days, red, green, back and forth. A lot of uncertainty on this pair. And for the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar, we'd need that Aussie dollar to get all the way up with price above the EMA by the end of the 3rd histogram bar tomorrow for us to be able to get that entry. Seems pretty unlikely at the moment. Still though, it hasn't moved far above the 0 line, so a couple more red days we could see the cross come underneath 0, and that could potentially be a pretty nice entry for us. Back on the Great British Pound Swiss franc pairing then, this is our only entry signal we're getting from the 21 currency pairs. As our previous trade, the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc pairing has now closed. That means that we can take this signal. We wouldn't have wanted to load up if this entry had meant taking a second trade on the Swiss franc, but now we'll only have one open on it. So let's pull up our average true range. So you can see the ATR 78.4 pips as its current reading. Let's get into our buy trade then in favor of the pound. So we can set our stop loss here at 784 points. And the take profit will go at 1176 points. And there we go, you see the take profit right up at this level, near the resistance, but not past it, which is quite good to see. And then the stop loss pretty tight down here. There we go then, and that is our trade, 1 times ATR to the stop loss, 1.5 to the take profit. Let's hope we can get another winner. We'll check back in on this trade and for any more entries tomorrow. Alright, day 5, and we are keeping it exactly equal to 100 as we check out our trade here. It's carried on its upward trend in our favor, so that is very nice. At the moment, $22 in profit, still quite a ways to go, but at least we are out of the gates and running in the right direction. Let's just go through those other 20 minor pairs and see what else is happening. New Zealand dollar still going to get stronger. I wonder if this is going to be a pattern for all these NZD pairs that we see. Yeah, same here on the Swiss franc. Would have been nice to have a bit of this trade still open. You can see this was our trade. We took profit up here, but another really strong green day for New Zealand dollar. Hopefully see some red days on the Euro Canadian dollar. If we can get people selling off the Euro, get that MACD below 0, potential signal there. Aussie dollar strengthening against the Euro. We're seeing that sell-off happen there, and the MACD continues to trundle below 0. And the Swiss franc Japanese yen, this is one of the most interesting pairs, even though we're not really near a signal. Well, we are in a way, but the last 7-8 days, this has gone red-green up and down the entire time. Incredibly indecisive chart, but at some point it's going to break. Hopefully it comes downwards so we actually get the crossover signal. There is potential. Well, the Aussie dollar today actually getting the better of the New Zealand dollar. These two are the powerhouses at the moment. So no new signals for us today to finish off the week. But as we said, our trade is still looking pretty nice here. The Great British Pound picking up where the New Zealand dollar left off. The Swiss franc still looking pretty weak. Sadly, all these currencies shut down for the weekend. We will be back on the 6th to check on these trades again. That'll be a Monday. So looking forward to checking in then. Day 6 then, and we are just having a look at our trade here. The Great British Pound, Swiss franc, still favourable to us. Long way to go. Hasn't really had much movement today. Did go up a bit and then looks like it pulled back here. So yeah, no movement there. No change in the MACD or the moving average. So no action to take on the trade. Let's cycle through the other currency pairs and see what we got. No signal on the New Zealand Japanese yen, although the New Zealand dollar did get a bit weaker here. I wonder if that's going to be consistent throughout the pairs. Has been on a strong run lately, so a pullback wouldn't be a surprise. Same here, it's got a little bit weaker against the Swiss franc. No signal for us. Yeah, very weak day across the board for the New Zealand dollar here, getting weaker against the pound as well. Looking at the Euro Canadian dollar pair, MACD getting very close to crossing below zero. We need a big red day for it to get below the EMA though. It would be very nice to see that come, get a dual crossover here, price below the average and the MACD below zero. We hope, we hope. Swiss franc, Japanese yen, my favourite pair the last couple weeks. Shame we couldn't get a green candle here to continue this striped pattern, but nevertheless, it's not like price has moved far. It's still right in this level here. At the moment, people are very content with this price level. Just back on the Great British Pound Swiss franc chart then. No trades for us tonight. That is absolutely fine. So far, the MACD is doing us pretty well. Let's hope this trade compounds that and heads for that take profit soon. We'll be back tomorrow to find out. Day 7 at almost 11:30. Looks like it was a bit of a wild day for our Great British Pound Swiss franc trade here. Opened here, came all the way down. So in fact, it lost 59 pips to its lowest point before coming all the way back up and now just about into daily highs. This is why we do give it a bit of room to move. Would have had to end the trade if it closed below this moving average here. So our trade's still $25 in profit. Let's roll through those other currency pairs and see if we got any new trades. New Zealand dollar continued to come down against the Japanese yen for a second day, heading towards that moving average and potential crossover. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen coming back down, price already below the moving average. If it comes across the zero line, that's potential for a nice entry there. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, same here, could come down, price already below the average, cross below the zero, get us into a sell trade. Euro Canadian dollar, we were looking for the exact opposite to happen here. If the euro had come down that much in red, we would have had a sell entry here with a zero line crossover and price being below the average. However, not what we get. Back up it comes. Looking for a weaker euro here. If it can come down, get below that average, get below the MACD. Plenty of sell trade potential for us out there. Just got to be patient. And that is it again though. No signals for us today. Got to wait for our moment. Can't just go jumping in without a signal. It will come and we will hope for it to come tomorrow. We'll be back then. Day 8 and we are back on the Great British Pound Swiss franc. Our trade getting even nicer here. Similar day to yesterday, but not quite as much of a drop. Formed a low throughout the morning, but then this afternoon and evening, much stronger. And it's a new high in our trade. Momentum keeps on with us. Pretty fortunate here. No action required then, so let's roll through our 20 other currency pairs, see if we got any entries out there. New Zealand dollar certainly strengthening against the Canadian dollar. Found a real high today before pulling back a little bit. Great British Pound Canadian dollar, it is giving us that entry signal there, the zero line crossover. Price still in a range here. We can't actually take this signal because we've already got the trade open on the pound Swiss franc. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but still nice entry signal. Be interesting to see if it comes back off these highs here. It might search tomorrow and come back down. Would have been nice if the pound Swiss franc had already taken profit and we could just keep chaining that. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen pair, another red day, so it is getting closer to that entry signal. If we could see one more like this, there's a fair chance we could be looking over a crossover in the next couple of days. Euro Canadian dollar, not what we want to see. Renewed momentum into the euro there, and it looks like that's going to carry on the MACD well above zero. Euro yen, nothing here, very rangy as well. Again, the Japanese yen not really moving against a lot of these pairs. Euro Swiss franc, that bullish euro momentum carries on there, striking further up. Wonder if it'll be able to break this sort of resistance level here. No signal on the euro Aussie dollar. Need a few more days of upward momentum to get it across zero there. It's possible though. Anything's possible. Here we've got another signal, but again we can't take it because we're already in the pound Swiss franc trade. But you can see here After this extended range of price here and lower volatility, it's now broken against the Swiss franc in favor of the yen. So that's a zero line crossover there. We'll certainly watch out for how that one goes, but we won't be in it. Got to show some restraint on that risk. Almost getting a signal on the Aussie dollar Kiwi there. If we can get it below zero, not that it did any good over there as it flipped back immediately. But if this bearish trend against the Aussie dollar is going to continue, we wouldn't mind getting some of those profits. So we did have two signals there, one for the pound CAD, one for the Swiss franc yen. The problem is that if we enter both those trades, they might just act as a wash against one another, or if it goes against the pound, we're suddenly down on two pairs with no guarantee that we're actually up on the Swiss franc, because the yen might be the strongest. So it's just about being careful with the risk, although it does take out quite a few opportunities. That is something to consider. With 7 minor pairs, we've got 21 currency pairs to look at. We're in one, so that leaves 20, but then it halves the amount of pairs that are actually available for us to enter in on. We've got those 20 left, but really 10 of them we can't trade on, so that leaves 10 remaining. Still quite a few currency pairs, but once we get into that pair, it obviously drops again. It's about being patient though. If you want to take every signal on every pair, then you can end up going in on 6 signals on one pair at the same time, or just make it up as you go along. We'll see how those potential trades go anyway over the coming days. That trade so far, pretty nice for the pound Swiss franc. How about another big green day tomorrow? Day 9, and the Great British Pound, it had got to dizzying new heights up here. Really did have a bit of a push behind it. It has U-turned since then though, all the way back down, now heading towards our entry price. Hopefully just a healthy correction for now, before continued momentum. MACD histogram bar has turned red here. Still though, no action for us at the moment. We're comfortably in profit. Swaps still gaining us a little bit as we go. So we'll see about those other pairs, if there are any other trades out there for us. New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen continuing its pullback here. Looks like it's going to be one of the reddest days in a while, and that could continue. Could also not. The Great British Pound Canadian dollar, this is that buy trade that we could have taken yesterday. So far it would have been going in our favour a little bit, but we didn't want to load up on that risk. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, so close to a crossover. If that can get across the zero mark, just one more day of red and we will be in. We've got no trades in the Canadian dollar or the Japanese yen at the moment, so we would be free to take that trade. Certainly look out for that one tomorrow. Nothing for us on the euro New Zealand dollar. Back and forth battle on that currency pair today. Pretty strong sell-off here on the euro Japanese yen pair. Price now below the moving average. Momentum coming downwards on the MACD. We've definitely got some sell trades out there to keep an eye for. Euro pound, another day of selling off against the euro for the pound, and another zero line crossover here. Wouldn't be able to get in at the moment with our pound trade. Aussie dollar having a bad day against the Kiwi as well. It's getting close to another crossover. It's been flipping back and forth quite a few times over the last few weeks here. But if we see a red day, that will be a sell trade. We've got nothing open on the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar at the moment. So another new day of no entries for us. And sadly, this trade not looking as strong. The Swiss franc had a good day today, to be fair. It wasn't that the pound really had a bad one. We did see the pound get a little bit stronger out there. So that could well continue, but we won't know until we're back tomorrow. Day 10, 20 past 11. Not a bad day. It could have been better though. Pound is on the rise here against the Swiss franc. It's the only thing we want, but it did get a lot higher again. Good to see a new high for these 2 days. Really getting up there and then coming back. A bit more profit than yesterday though, and still being paid to hold on to this. Pretty cool. Let's have a look at these other currency pairs, see if we can get a signal going. Nothing for us on the New Zealand dollar yen. The New Zealand dollar did climb up, pulled back though. And so the MACD showing more red momentum. If that price comes down, could be in eventually. Pound New Zealand dollar needs a lot of momentum to come into the pound to get above zero here. That'd be a good double whammy. Enough momentum comes into the pound that it triggers this, but also gets us in above the average and across zero on the MACD for the pound New Zealand dollar to take over. Wistful thinking. This pound Canadian dollar trade would be going nicely had we taken it. It's not like it would be all over though. Pound climbing here again against the Aussie dollar. Could be well in with that zero line crossover in the next couple of days. And almost getting this sell signal from the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen here. Let's get that red. Very rangy here. Pound similar. Big moves up. Back down here into this tight range. Yikes. Let's get that euro sell off here. People start buying the yen up, getting rid of their euros. Have a look down the side of the armchairs and that. If you find any euros down the side there, do me a big favor, take them to your nearest exchange and swap them for Japanese yen so we can get in this demo trade right here. Love to test this strategy a bit more. No signal. Here's that Euro Great British Pound trade that we did have the option to, but we chose not to because of our risk. So really we didn't have the option to. There was no option. We'll be going okay, a little bit positive, not really decisive at the moment, definitely not enough for a take profit. Still though, gutted. Swiss franc, Japanese yen, after that rangy time, it's pulled down just a little bit of another range at the moment. Anyone in on that one will want the big drop off. Again, we had the option, but we didn't have the option because we got this Swiss franc trade going. Here we do have a signal. It's the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, and I don't believe we have a trade open for either of those currencies, which means we are in. Let's just check a couple other Aussie dollar pairs before we jump in on this trade. Nothing here against the Swiss franc. They only give us half data on some of these. I don't know why. There's these 3 pairs right here. Poor brokering, but there we go. And no signal on the Aussie dollar yen. But if the sell-off of the Aussie dollar continues, we could get a lot of upcoming signals. However, we've just got this one here. The Aussie dollar's been going down for a good while here. That was back mid-June. So we're talking 3 months near enough. Let's pull up our ATR and see what we're working with here. 46.1 pips with a balance of $5,081.93. That's more than we started with, by the way. It's a 2% risk on the trade, and our stop loss will be that 46.1 there. 1 times ATR value. Just looking at our pound Swiss franc trade here for reference, that's at 78.4. So this is a tighter stop loss here, 46.1. And so there is our risk calculated on screen now. Just the one trade for us, and we are in. So we can set our stop loss here to that 1 times ATR, which is 461 points. And then we can go 1.5 times that for our take profit, trying to get a little bit more profit than loss for each trade. So we'll round that to 692 points there, 69.2 pips. Very nice. There it is. We can't zoom in much. Let's close down the ATR. Whew, that take profit. Yeah, it's really going to have to find new lows to get there. And this kind of looks tight. It's only really at the high of today. So, yeah, not sure how confident we are in this one, but certainly the signal is there. So that's all we can do is follow the system. Price below the EMA. MACD across 0. We're in. 4 red days in a row. There could be more to come. There was up here. Now we are in 2 trades. So we've got the pound Swissy and the Aussie New Zealand dollar. Day 11, and we got a bit of good news and a bit of bad news. Let's start with the good news on the Great British Pound Swiss franc currency pair. Our take profit has triggered right up there, so we made $152.79 from that one, plus the 63 cents from the swap there. In the bag, trade over, and we were quite fortunate. This is right at the top, this take profit. Let's have a look on that 15-minute chart, and you can see there it's above the highest close of the day. It's not to say that price won't carry on in that direction, but certainly for now, if it was to reverse, we'd be pretty satisfied with that conclusion. It's a good trade. We are elated with the victory there. And then a bit of bad news, although not terrible at all. On our Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar trade, it is moving a little bit against us. We weren't the most confident in this run of momentum getting in with a sell trade at the bottom. So it does make sense that price is just consolidating a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't move back up enough to trigger that stop loss. But if it just ranges for a few days and then wants to carry on, obviously we're plenty happy with that. Although we are getting charged quite a bit for it. That was over the weekend, $1.99 to hold on to that one. Not ideal, but we're still in it. So let's have a look at those other currency pairs now and see what we got out there. Great British Pound, Aussie dollar, very nearing a signal still. If we get a couple more days of momentum, nice green candle, and that will assuredly be a 0-line crossover. Whether we'll be able to take it having this Aussie dollar trade open already is yet to be seen. First, we've got to look out for that signal. On the Euro Japanese yen pair, nearing in against that 0-line crossover, price below the average. If we can have a red day or two, that will be enough to flip that 0-line and get us in. And then maybe we can catch a bit down to the support level here. Euro Aussie dollar, if we can get a couple real green candles behind this push in favour of the euro, 0-line crossover is potentially there. It's just going to take a bit more time. That euro pound trade that we had the option on back then, still just hovering at the moment, did find a new low. Don't think it would have been enough to trigger a take profit, but it'd be getting closer now. Would have been a good trade. Same for this Swiss franc Japanese yen trade. We could have taken it and now finding new lows, so it would have been quite nice, but we don't load up on the risk. Back on the Aussie dollar New Zealand dollar chart. Our only trade now, no new signals today. That is fine though. We've had 2 winning trades so far. Hopefully this one can come into some gains at the very least would be nice. Don't want to see this crossover here as green histogram bar has come again already. Many a cross is going on the last few weeks here. And we'll be back tomorrow to find out if we've got any new entry signals then. Day 12 and to our favour doth the trade goeth. It's the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar still, and down this price comes now. After it retraced a little bit on this green day here, sell-off continues, and it got pretty far actually. Has pulled back from the low quite a bit since then. Nevertheless, looking quite profitable at the minute, so that's good to see. No action in terms of the price recrossing the moving average or the MACD recrossing 0. So let's just have a look for those other trades. Pound New Zealand dollar. Any more green days for the pound, and this MACD is going to cross over 0. It's not going to make it above the average though. Unlikely to get a trade out of it anytime soon. We could see a 0 line crossover and then a reverse crossover. That classic. We'll watch and see. Great British Pound Aussie dollar, that 0 line cross is nearing here. We're in this Aussie dollar New Zealand trade, so we won't be able to get in unless we get out of this one. You can't even see the bar there, but it is jammed in there. Negative 0.000105. Very low there. Could see that momentum push the crossover above 0 soon. Let's hope it comes after we snag a winner here on the Aussie dollar New Zealand dollar. On the Canadian dollar yen, and after these lines have been overlapped for the last couple of days, we now finally look like we are going to get that confirmation of a sell trade against the Canadian dollar yen. We got no trades open with either of these pairs, so we'll be free to take that signal. First, let's just check out the other pairs and see if there's any others out there. Whew, the euro Japanese yen pair here, that was very close to giving a signal. This candle right here is going to close. It almost comes with the histogram value 0.0073. In case you're unaware, that is a positive value, which means it is not a negative value. So no possible sell entry there. Otherwise, that would have been the CAD facing off against the euro there. As is, we press on, no signal. No other trades then, so we are in with a sell trade on the Canadian dollar Japanese yen pair. Let's pull up our ATR. Currently getting a reading of 62.8 pips. That'll be what we go with for our 2% stop loss. There is our risk calculated on screen. Let's sell off the CAD. And so we can set our stop loss and take profit for that. That is a stop loss of 1 times ATR, 628 points, and a 1.5 times take profit. That is at 942 points. Modify that. There we go. ATR not so big on this one, and honestly it seems quite tight here, just as it did on the Aussie dollar New Zealand dollar when we got in. That stop loss there, not even at the high of the day here. So a strong retracement a day like this, and that stop loss could go. At least our take profit isn't past the support level though. We have seen this tested a couple times. It does give us a little bit of faith it could come down. But that is it then. We are now in the trade. We're in 2 trades. We've got Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, and the CAD yen. Well balanced, 4 different currency pairs. Let's come back tomorrow and see how those are getting on. Day 13, both of our trades still open, and let's first have a look at the Aussie New Zealand dollar trade. It's come a bit in our favour. Hasn't really done much at all today, to be fair, but still even a little bit is better than nothing, so we are in some profit, but these swaps are adding up. They are expensive swaps. So far it is fine though. Let's have this moving average keep coming down. Let's have the MACD keep coming down, and let's have price keep coming down. CAD yen pair, this has been a pretty green day for the CAD, so that's running against us. It did get, to be fair, about halfway towards our take profit, or a third halfway. In the end though, big retracement, back up it comes. MACD hasn't recrossed 0 though, still not above the average, so we got no action to take here. We can just let this one ride. So let's have a look at those other currency pairs, see if we've got any new signals out there. Pound New Zealand crossover nearly happening to the green side. We might see that get above 0 in the next couple days. Still, prices well below the average. The Great British Pound, Aussie dollar, it is giving us that buy signal in favour of the Great British Pound now. We won't be able to take it because we're already in this Aussie dollar trade. We're already betting against the Aussie dollar in that sell trade there. So we don't want to make it that we've got too much risk all on the Australian dollar. We'll certainly watch for how it goes though in the coming days. Pound yen pair very nearly getting that sell signal. If price had finished where that low is there, it could have been below zero. It certainly would have been very close. Might see that in the next few days. Also getting a signal on the euro Japanese yen pair. Can't take this one either because we're already in a trade with the Japanese yen. But this one is saying, hey, sell off your euro and get in favor of the Japanese yen, which we already are because we're selling off the Canadian dollar in favor of the yen. Don't want to get in two trades that are very similar and end up with a 4% risk on the table. So we move on from this pair. Swiss franc, Japanese yen. We didn't get in this one because we were already in a Swiss franc trade at the time, but it does look like if we had, this almost certainly would have been a take profit around about here today. That would have been good, but we were right not to get too risky with it. This Aussie dollar yen pairing, we can't get in on this obviously because we've got trades on both these pairs, but it is giving us a sell signal against the Aussie dollar. That MACD ever so slightly below zero there. Those lines just about crossing. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on this one as well, see how that goes. That is it. So no new entry signals for us there. We did have a couple in there, but we can't just take every sell-off against the Aussie dollar. End up with like 6 trades just saying, yeah, the Aussie dollar's going down. I mean, it's great if you're right, but if you're wrong, yeah, not so fun. But we are trying to keep it sustainable. So we'll be back in another 24 hours to see how these trades have progressed. Day 14 then, just gone 11:30. We've got our trades up here. First, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. Well, it had looked like it was going to go a tiny bit in our favour. Now it's pulled back against us. We actually got really close to that take profit there. But unfortunately, big pullback throughout the day. Hopefully we see a similar thing though. If it can stretch that a little bit further, then we might be able to snag it. The swaps are really adding up. $11.95 for it so far. No action needed for it though. Similarly on the CAD yen, already up to $5 on swaps there. Did come a little bit towards our favour this time, so that's quite nice. Came a bit of red and was in profit there for a minute, but I think we need some big downward pressure to see a move here. This day's been a pretty flat and uncertain day, but still MACD, EMA, no issue, so no action for us to take here. Let's have a look at those other currency pairs, see what's going on. And we did get a zero line crossover on this New Zealand dollar Japanese yen pair to the sell side. Wouldn't be able to take this trade for a couple of reasons. One, price is going to close above the EMA by the look of it. And we're also in a trade on the New Zealand dollar and a trade on the Japanese yen also. But still be interesting to see how far that zero line crossover gets. Pound New Zealand dollar doing the reverse. It's the New Zealand dollar again though. This time it's in favour of the pound. The MACD histogram has moved above zero here and we can see the MACD line crossing that signal line. But price comfortably below the EMA. So nothing for us here. Pound Aussie dollar pairing, if we had been in this zero line crossover from here, be a little bit in our favour so far. It'd be quite nice, but nothing drastic. Pound yen, very almost giving us a signal. If we see a red day tomorrow on this pairing, almost certainly going to get that crossover there. Also a crossover on the euro CAD pairing today, and it looked like price was about to close below the EMA, but we've seen an enormous pullback throughout the rest of the day here. So no entry for us there. We're in a CAD trade anyway. The euro Japanese yen pair, if we'd been in this one, we'd only be a little bit in profit at the moment. It would have come down. That wouldn't have been enough to take profit though, so we would be back up here right by our entry price at the moment. And there's another zero line crossover here on the euro Aussie dollar pair. You can barely see it there, but it is slightly over 0.000040. So if we weren't in a trade already with the Australian dollar, we would be getting in a buy trade here. As it is, we'll just have to see how it goes. That Aussie dollar Japanese yen pair, if we'd been in it on a sell trade, then it would be a touch in our favour, but not really a lot of movement there. And it's another sell signal, a zero line crossover on the MACD, again against the Australian dollar. But because we're in an Aussie dollar and a CAD trade already, no signal for us there. We'll check out how it goes though. This looks like it could be a nice one. It's had a bit of a run down already, but that was after a strong run up. Could easily catch the second half of that. That's it for the signals. There were plenty out there, but none on the pairs that are available to us. We're using up all the Pacific currencies plus our one North American currency, the Canadian dollar. So realistically, unless we want to ramp up our risk, we've only actually got trades available, remember, on the Great British Pound, the Euro and the Swiss franc. So there's only 3 currency pairs that could give us a signal at the moment. Otherwise, we are currently waiting for these ones. Let's see how they go. Day 15 then, a last day of the week, and it is the 3rd Friday of September, so it has been a quadruple witching day today. That's over in the stock world, but let's see how our trades have fared in the last 24 hours. So Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar pulled up here. Did go against us a little bit, still in profit. Price came all the way just a bit back above our entry price, and we are seeing green momentum still on the MACD. But nevertheless, as I say, it's still in profit even with these heavy swaps going on. So no action needed here. And our CAD Japanese yen trade, it is in profit now, but look how close this came to stop loss there. That is very tight. All the way back down there, and now comfortably in profit. More in profit than our Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar trade, in fact. And we're still seeing continued momentum on the MACD to the red side. So no action needed on this one either. Let's have a look at those other pairs and see what's going on. Pound Aussie dollar, if we'd been on this trade, because it did give us a signal which we didn't take, would have been a pretty flat day today. No change there. Great British Pound Japanese yen pair giving us the sell-off trade here. Obviously we can't take it because we're in a Japanese yen trade already, but it does look like an appealing move, to be fair. This is the first day it's crossed over, so potentially it could run down to here and snag some profits. Good luck to you if you are in on it. Euro yen here also had the option of this trade, and it would be going a little bit more in our favour here. Not by much though, could easily come back up. Still though, at this stage would have been nice. Yeah, in case there was any uncertainty on this Swiss franc Japanese yen pair, if we would have taken profit, it's another red day here. Big sell off of the Swiss franc. This would have been a certain profit for us had we been in. Not the same story on the Aussie dollar Canadian dollar though. This did give us a signal yesterday here on the zero line crossover and price below the exponential average. We didn't take it because we're already in an Aussie dollar and a Canadian dollar trade. But had we been in it, we would have actually been immediately closing this due to this reversal of price here above the moving average. Good thing we avoided that. Would have been a bit of a loss there. And that's it for us then. Just got our forex trades pulled up here now. That CAD yen moving pretty nicely to our favour. No extra entry signals for us today, but that is absolutely fine. As long as these keep moving to our favour, we can be patient and we can take the good signals, not go crazy with our risk, and hopefully make some consistent profits. We will be back to check on these again on Monday. Day 16 on the charts. First off, we got ourselves a winning trade here. The CAD yen has triggered. Let's have a look on the history. $154.61 after taking off the swap. That is $146.99. And you can see there the trade. It even went quite a bit further in the daytime. It is Canada's federal election today, so likely a good bit of downward volatility from that helped us out. And that does also open up now the CAD and the yen to be able to trade on other pairs if we get signals from them. That was our winning trade. Now here's our open trade, the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. Still in profit, hanging around. The MACD's coming back up. This is the third green bar we're going to see for the MACD. Really hasn't moved far from the zero line, but at least we've been able to stay in some profit. Nothing for us to do with it though, so let's take a look at the other pairs, see what we got up there. New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. This is a signal for us. Obviously, we're in a New Zealand dollar trade, so we won't take it, but it would be a signal. This is the third histogram bar below the zero here, so it's just in time for the entry now that price is closed below the moving average. And there's the third histogram bar on the Great British Pound, New Zealand dollar. Hasn't made it through. In fact, it's come back down away from the moving average. No signal. With another day or two of downward volatility on the Canadian dollar, we could see a signal come now on the CAD Swiss franc pair. Price below the EMA. If that MACD histogram comes across the zero line, that would be a sell signal. Pound yen, big drop off there. Had we got in that trade yesterday, very likely that would have taken our profit today. Really weak for the pound and really strong for the yen. And we do have a signal now on the euro Canadian dollar pair. It is a buy trade in favour of the euro. We can see price clearly above the moving average and the MACD about to close across zero for the first time. Let's see if we got any other signals before we come back to this one. Euro New Zealand dollar making the cross in favour of the euro as well, but price is below the average on this one, so no immediate signal. Euro gaining a lot against the Great British Pound as well today, not enough to push it above zero, but could see that signal come in the next couple of days. Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, looking like it would have been a winning trade if we were in it, or certainly very close. Still though, we have no signals apart from the euro Canadian dollar, so that is the trade we'll be getting in. Let's pull up our average true range. There it is, our money management assistant, currently showing a 93.6 pips. Since we're doing a 1 times ATR to the stop loss, that's exactly what it will be for us. Here's our risk on the screen now. And so there we go, in with the buy trade. That means we can set our stop loss at 1 times ATR. And we can set our take profit at 1.5 times ATR. Try and get a bit more out of it. We do see the stop loss right there. Let's zoom out and we see the take profit as well. It's not too far away, but really this does seem like a resistance level. If you look here, it's bounced off here, it's bounced off here, it's even pulled back from here. So it really wouldn't surprise me if it came into this range, knocking our stop loss on the way. Nevertheless though, a signal is a signal, and that is exactly what we got. We are back in action with 2 trades, 4 currency pairs. And there they are, both of our trades. We will be back in 24 hours to see how they're doing. Day 17, and we have got our trades pulled up, or we got the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar trade pulled up first. And you can barely see the MACD histogram. As we hover over it there, you can currently see the reading is 0.000007. It is ever so slightly positive. So what we're going to do, because it keeps flipping a little bit, I have seen it below 0 as well. If it does close above 0, that means we have to manually close this trade off as the signal has reversed against us. Because it is still so tight though, and we've got a little bit of time left before the end of the day, we're going to take out other actions first and then come back to this at the end and make our decision on it then. Here's our other open trade, the Euro CAD pair, where we are buying the Euro. And it came very close to our stop loss today. Look at that. And then all the way back up. It's now back up at our entry price, dipping in and out of profit a little bit. No action on this one. Let's have a look at those other currency pairs, see if we've got any entry signals. 0 line crossover is occurring on the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc right now. Selling off the New Zealand dollar, so it's gone underneath 0. Price still above the EMA though. It's got 2 periods to get across that line to give us the entry signal. And of course, we need to get out of this New Zealand dollar trade as well down here. Canadian dollar Swiss franc pair is giving us a clear entry signal, price below the moving average, MACD crossing below 0, telling us, hey, sell off those Canadian dollars, buy up the francs. Currently though, we cannot take that signal because we're already in the Canadian dollar trade against the euro. So no signal. The pound Swiss franc pair very almost giving us a signal here. The last couple of days, price has come down so far that it's below the moving average easily, and the MACD is so close to that 0 line crossover. Could well see that tomorrow, and we currently do not have any pound or Swiss franc trades open. This Aussie dollar yen trade that we didn't take, but it was a signal that would have taken profit, I would imagine. It's gone quite far there, 136 pips. And we are getting a sell signal on the Aussie dollar Swiss franc pair, price below 0. MACD crosses below 0 as well. Mostly sell trades we seem to be getting. All these signals are going below 0 rather than above it. Just so happens that way. But we need to decide what to do with this trade. And the MACD reading, it is so minimal. It's got that decimal point, 5 zeros, and then a 3 right now, a 4. Does seem to be hanging around just above it. What we're going to do is that when the clock hits 11:45 here, whatever the exact reading is at that point, that will be our signal. If it's above 0, even by 0.000001, then we will close. If it's below, it stays for another day. 5 seconds to go, and it is currently above, and it does stay there. So we will manually close that trade down, as we will take it that it's going to close that way with the signal reversing against us. Not too bad a trade at least. $33.02 in profit, but we did have $17.92 worth of swaps. So profits only totaled to $15.10 really. Still though, that's much better than a loss. But now having closed that trade on the Australian dollar New Zealand dollar pair, it means our Aussie dollar is open and we can get into a trade on the Aussie dollar Swiss franc pair, giving us a good signal over here. So we're still selling off the Australian dollar, but we're switching out the New Zealand dollar for the Swiss franc. Interesting move. There is our average true range pulled up then, currently showing a reading of 55.4 pips, or 55 pips, 4 pipettes. Our risk is calculated on screen now, and so we can enjoy ourselves a sell trade. There we go, we're in. So let's set that stop loss here, 554 points. And our take profit at 1.5 times that, which is 831 points. Still always makes me a little bit jittery when I see the stop loss hovering near the high of the current candle. One day's retracement could just knock us straight out. One last look at our Australian dollar New Zealand dollar pair shows it is still up there on the MACD. Razor thin margins, but I think it makes it pretty interesting that we are now out of that Australian dollar New Zealand dollar and into the Australian dollar Swiss franc. We'll find out how it's getting on tomorrow. Day 18 here, and we are starting with some pretty bad news. Our Euro Canadian dollar trade, the stop loss has triggered there. We were only in there 2 days, or just under 2 days. Did trigger this afternoon going into the evening there. We weren't the most confident in this trade. It was up at this resistance level here, so it did seem like it would be a stretch to get all the way up to 1.5 times ATR to take profit, but disappointed to see it come back down so quickly. Even if our stop loss was further away, you can just about see down here that MACD is going to close beneath the 0 level, so we've been manually closing out anyway. That's our Euro CAD trade. Our Australian dollar Swiss franc trade here came very close to our stop loss today, just a few pips off there. Not a good sign of things to come. It's currently just over halfway towards that stop loss still. Really want another red day like one of these to come. Not even with a high, just down it comes straight away, because at the moment that MACD is not turning. Still nothing for us to do here at the moment. Let's have a look at those other charts, see if we've got any entries. Pound Canadian dollar here, almost out of nowhere in this range right now, has just crossed below 0 there, so it's got 2 more candles for price to close below that average for us to be able to take that signal. For now, it's not good enough. If we joined the sell trade here on the Canadian dollar Swiss franc pair yesterday, wouldn't have been doing so well. Not looking promising if we were in it. Pound Swiss franc giving us a clear signal. Can't take it because we're in the Aussie dollar Swiss franc trade, but you can see it there. Price below the moving average, and that MACD has dropped pretty fast against the pound the last couple of days. Look at those big red candles there. Euro New Zealand dollar pair. It was the last candle for it to be able to make it up and over the exponential moving average to get us into a trade. It did not happen. Signal doesn't come. We're locked out of this MACD move here. And the Euro Swiss franc giving us a similar signal to the pound Swiss franc has crossed below 0, but we've already got a trade that's in favour of the Swiss franc as we're selling off the Australian dollar against it. Therefore, we shall not take this signal right here. This is the Australian dollar New Zealand dollar pairing here, and we can see at the end of yesterday the MACD did close just above 0, so we feel pretty validated in that decision to close the trade. Finished at 0.000023 in the end, and the price did come green today, so it wouldn't have mattered if we'd either kept this trade open or gone for the Aussie dollar Swiss franc. They would have both moved against us by about the same amount. Yet no new entry signals that we're able to take then. We do have those pound and euro ones against the Swiss franc, but if we want to be reasonable about it, then we shouldn't have 3 trades open on the Swiss franc. They'd all be trades in favour of the Swiss franc, 2% capital risk each. It's basically risking 6%. If the Swiss franc has a bad day, it's no good for us. So no signals for us there. We'll be back in 24 hours to see if we've got any then. Day 19, and we've got our Australian dollar Swiss franc chart pulled up here, and it is bad news once again. Our stop loss has been triggered at around about lunchtime today for a full $107 loss, plus those swaps there, $6.64. Only took 2 days to run right back against us, very similar to that euro dollar CAD trade that got knocked out yesterday. If price starts coming up even more, we could see a crossover above the average and above the 0 level there. We might be in a trade going the other way much sooner than we'd thought. Disappointed with the loss as always, but let's see if there's any other entry opportunities out there on those charts. The Great British Pound Canadian dollar pairing here, really tempting us with a signal, but not quite there yet. We need that close to be below the moving average, and it is not there. It is currently overlapping with the moving average. It did go quite far past there, but since then has pulled back quite a bit. And so that means we've only got one more histogram bar for price to fully close across that average to give us that sell signal entry. On the pound Aussie dollar, if we saw a big sell-off of the pound here, we could get a simultaneous crossover of the moving average and the MACD. Could be a potentially nice entry signal if this was to form a lower high and then continue a downward trend. CAD yen, what a surge this is making. It's been a really poor day for the yen. Seen a lot of currencies strengthen against the yen today. And that MACD, and not quite across 0, but we could see that tomorrow, as well as across the moving average. If we see a day anything like this, if we see any green, that'll go over the line there. Even with a bit of red, it might still go over, but it wouldn't make it over that moving average. And we do have an entry signal here. It is on the CAD Swiss franc pair. It's a buy signal in favour of the Canadian dollar. selling off the Swiss franc. And it is really a signal within this range here. Don't know how confident I'm going to be in this signal. That is if we end up taking it. Let's just finish off browsing our charts and see if we've got any other entry options. Last night, being in the Aussie dollar Swiss franc pair kept us out of this trade here, the Great British Pound Swiss franc. We can see we would have entered into a sell trade here. And not only would we have lost our Aussie dollar trade, we also would have lost this pound Swissy trade. This is why you shouldn't really load up on risk for each currency pair. Could have easily been another 2% of our capital there, completely wiped. And the Euro CAD also giving us a signal here, so we can see big sell off of the Euro, down it comes across the moving average. That's a sell against the Euro, a buy for the Canadian dollar, which means we've got two trades that are asking us to go in favour of the Canadian dollar so far. And very almost a sell signal against the Euro in favour of the pound here. Could see that come tomorrow with a bit more of a sell-off there. Any more red we see and that crossover will come. That is all of our trades assessed, and it comes down to the Canadian dollar Swiss franc and the Euro Canadian dollar pairing, both telling us to go in favour of the Canadian dollar. Let's take another look at that Euro Swiss franc pair. On the daily chart here for the Euro Swiss franc pair, we can see that the Euro did have a stronger day today against the Swiss franc. Remember, that's how we're deciding what we're using as our determiner for when we get two signals at the same time. We're seeing which pair on the day today had a stronger day. So that was the Euro. That means we would rather trade against the Swiss franc than we would against the Euro, because the Euro is stronger than the Swiss franc. So that means even though it is in this range here, we are going to go for the Canadian dollar Swiss franc pairing. The other thing I'd understand here is if you sort of said, hey, this signal is actually coming on the second candle, whereas the Canadian dollar Swiss franc one is coming on the first candle of the crossover, so therefore I see the first candle as a more reliable signal than the second candle. That would be completely fair and logical and would get us to the same outcome in this instance. So let's get onto that Canadian dollar Swiss franc pair and let's pull up our ATR. Our average true range value is currently 62.2 pips then. That will be our stop loss distance with a 2% risk. You can see how that's calculated on screen now. So let's get into this buy trade. Our trade is in and we are a go. That means we can set our stop loss and take profit. As per our ATR value here, it is 622 for the stop loss and 1.5 times that value for the take profit is 933 or 93.3 pips. 93 pips, 3 pipettes, however you like to say it. There it is, and you can see always my least favorite thing with these when it's 1 times ATR stop loss and you see it above the low price of the day's range. It means that if this was a false move and price just came straight back down, it wouldn't even have to go past today's low before wiping out the stop loss. Nevertheless though, a signal is a signal and we do like to be in a trade. We'll be back in 24 hours time to see how we get on with it. Day 20 here, right at the end of week 4. Our Canadian dollar Swiss franc trade, slightly in profit, did make a beeline for the stop loss there, but has pulled back throughout the afternoon, evening, now into the tiniest amount of money, could even drop down soon, but at the moment looking good. So nothing for us to do here. Have a look and see if there's any Friday entries out there for us. Here comes a signal from the CAD yen, not a trade we can take because we're already in a CAD pair. But it is to the buy side for the Canadian dollar, so at least it's a good sign for us that the Canadian dollar is strengthening in general. Pound yen very almost coming in with the signal. If we can get a green day on the Great British Pound, that should knock it above the moving average, above the zero line, and into a trade. The euro yen so close to a signal, price has come above the moving average, only by a smidge, but it is past it. However, the MACD just a little bit shy. One more push, or as long as there's not a big red day that comes, to be honest, should be enough momentum in this MACD now to cross over there. Potential entry in the next day or so. Here's a signal that doesn't look so good for us. It's the Swiss franc Japanese yen pair. It is a buy trade in favor of the Swiss franc, which does mean that Swiss franc is strengthening. Not what we want to see, as we are betting against it in our Canadian dollar trade. Can't take this signal, and we hope it turns red there. Let's get people selling the Swiss francs. If you got them, sell them. That Aussie dollar New Zealand dollar pair that we had a trade in previously, still ranging down here, would have been going a little bit more against it. It was a sell trade we were in, and we do see green power coming at the moment. Still though, very much near where our entry price was. Well, that is it then. No extra signals for us. Still room for the Canadian dollar here against the Swiss franc. Let's get some big green coming into the market, at least for a couple of days. Get us away from this moving average, get the MACD away from the zero line, try and lock in some profit. We will be back next week to carry on the strategy. Day 21, and our trade is going quite nicely here on the Canadian dollar Swiss franc. $33 up. And we don't mind holding this one though. We are getting paid for it on the swap there. 36 cents. Good news for us. Nothing for us to do though here. Price is still far above that moving average, and the MACD just simply strengthening here as it moves along, catching up with these candles. If it can just creep up, maybe just do a high, doesn't even have to close, just snag that take profit, and then if it wants to come back down, we do not mind. Okay, let's check out the other charts, see if we've got any trades. It's that CAD Japanese yen pair. If we had taken the trade here, we'd be a little bit up right now, but we would have a lot of risk and a lot of money in the Canadian dollar. The pound yen clocking us with a signal here, and we are not in a trade for either of those two currencies. Let's just see if we've got any other potential entries on either the pound or the yen. And we are getting another signal here, the Euro-Japanese yen pair. The Euro and pound moving a little bit in tandem against the yen. And so we see the price is just going to close above that moving average there. Now we've got at least two currency pairs battling it out for the right to take on the Japanese yen. Are there any more out there? The Euro-Aussie dollar very close to a signal. Price come down and it has crossed below zero, but not across the moving average yet. Could see that signal come in the next couple of days. So I've just pulled up the Euro Great British Pound chart. Remember, this is how we determine our trades. Which one of these had a stronger day today? And the Euro had a weak day, the pound with a stronger day. But it was strong enough for the pound, weak enough for the Euro that it did cross zero. So we do actually have a signal here on the MACD histogram against the Euro, a sell trade. That's another option. And we are almost getting a fourth signal. But this one is just going to be ruled out here. The Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Again, a weak day for the yen. We've seen price climb in favor of the Australian dollar. But since price is literally on the level with the moving average, it's not looking like it's going to close above it. Well, it could close above it by the end of the day. But as of right now, it is not. We're not going to hang around to see if it does close above it because we've got other trade potential. But it is very bad news for the Japanese yen. And this is where you see we could, in theory, take 3 trades all against the Japanese yen on one day, but then it could come back strong overnight in the Asia session, and in less than 12 hours, we could be completely out of all of those trades. So no signal on the Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, which does leave us with our pound yen trade, the euro yen trade, and the euro pound trade. And it does make sense to go with the pound yen trade. The fact that the pound has strengthened against the euro, strengthened against the yen, puts it as the top dog of the 3 currencies. So let's get into that trade. That's our ATR there, showing 103.5 pips. That's what we're going for, and you can see our risk calculated on screen now. In we go with our buy trade. And so we can set our stop loss and take profit 1 times ATR from our entry price for the stop loss, and 1.5 times here for the take profit. So there you see it, the stop loss just at the low of the day. It's becoming a regular sight. Hopefully that is enough below it though, and we can see price breach this resistance level, get to that take profit. Has been a while since it was at that level, but if the yen weakens or the pound strengthens, we will get there again. Let's just cross our fingers and come back tomorrow in 24 hours time to see how we're doing. Day 22, we've got our 2 trades pulled up, but it is bad news on one of them. The Great British Pound, Japanese yen, has triggered our stop loss, went quite a bit lower than that as well. You can see momentum had come up, got us into this trade here, but it had burnt out very quickly. And so we've taken a full $102 loss there. Obviously not too pleased with that. And our CAD Swiss franc trade over here, still in profit for us, still making us a little bit of money on the swaps. So we'll just keep this one running, no action there. And let's have a look at those other charts, see if we've got any trades. And we are getting a signal here against the Great British Pound. So on the Great British Pound Aussie dollar pair, price has dropped off enough that it's come below the moving average here. And also the first bar below zero, that's going to go there. That one just before couldn't have been any less positive, 0.000001 absolute minimum. But now we are seeing it close below. See if there's any other trades out there for us. Otherwise we'll be in with this one. Here's the Euro Japanese yen pair. We did have the option of this one. We opted for that pound yen instead. The euro has come stronger. We could have been in that trade and we would be to the good, not stopped out at all. So at the moment, looking like a bit of an error to go for the GBP yen instead of the euro yen. yuppie over guppy in this instance. Had we taken the trade of the Euro Great British Pound, it was a sell trade, if you can see below zero down here. 3 ways in which this one could have called us out. 1 by the stop loss, 2 by the MACD recrossing its zero line, and 3 from price closing above our moving average. Another good example of why we don't throw ourselves in on all of these trades. Too risky. No other signals for us then, which means we can get in with this Great British Pound Australian dollar trade. Wouldn't have had this opportunity if we were still in the other pound trade against the yen. So a bit of a blessing there maybe. Or if it turns into a loss, obviously more of a curse. Let's get that average true range up. 114.7 pips, that's what we'll be going for. As always, it is that 2% capital risk at 1 times ATR from our entry price. And you can see how that's calculated on screen now. In we go with a sell trade against the pound. Not long ago, we were in with a buy trade for it. Now we're selling off what we bought. As always, let's plug it at stop loss and take profit. And there it is, 1 times ATR for the stop loss and 1.5 for the take profit. Not too far to go. Hopefully we can get down to that level. Another day like this would get us very close. We are back in 2 trades and we will see how they're getting on. Hopefully still both in them, hopefully both profitable when we are back in 24 hours time. Day 23, not a lot of action on our trades. No real volatility on the CAD Swissy here. Still in profit, which is good to see, but no actual movement from yesterday. Pound Aussie price has gone up a bit and we're in a sell trade. So it's not going to cross that moving average just yet, but we do want to see a red day come to avoid it getting above there or seeing the MACD start turning. Nothing to do on either of these trades though, so let's see what else is out there. Pound yen here, it is just about giving us a sell signal against the pound. Ever so slightly negative. Not a trade we can take though, we are already selling against the pound there in favour of the Aussie dollar. Euro Aussie dollar a signal as well. Obviously can't take it, already in an Aussie dollar trade. No more signals for us then. There is only 3 trades that would actually be available to us. The Euro, New Zealand dollar and yen pair combinations. So we'll just come back tomorrow and see where we're at with these trades then. Day 24. How are our trades doing? Not too bad. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc pulled up at the moment. Did surge to a pretty nice high. Hopefully it's not bouncing off this as a resistance level, but it's actually going to test a further high tomorrow and potentially take profit. We like to be optimistic. And the pound Australian dollar also going a little bit to our favour as well now. Didn't really make much of a new low, but it is going to be down that way for the close, which means we are in profit for it at the moment. And at least it gets it further away from this moving average as well. Even a small green candle could have pushed it over and forced us into closing the trade. No action on either of these charts. Let's see what else is happening. So close to the crossover here on the Euro Yen. This is one that we could take. If we see another red day, that MACD is going to cross. We'll be in. Signal from the Euro Australian dollar as well. Price just come across the moving average. That is a would-be sell trade there. That is it though. No moves for us to make. So we'll just come back in 24 hours time and see if we've got anything before the weekend. Day 25, both of our trades are still open. Just got the Canadian dollar, Swiss franc pulled up. Early in the day, price did find its way all the way back below our entry price. It's come back stronger though, and now we are going to get a higher close than yesterday. Not above the high of yesterday, but still good to see progress. Currently $80 up, and we'll happily take the swap over the weekend. On our other chart, the Great British Pound Australian dollar, not much movement on this one at all by the end of the day. It did come back up against us, but now, here it is, still in profit, $39 thereabouts. The indicators are still in our favour on both charts, so we'll just have a look at the other ones. Euro New Zealand dollar coming down here, might see a crossover eventually. Yeah, this is pretty light news so far tonight. Wow, but we are actually getting a signal here from the Euro Japanese yen pair. It's telling us to get into a sell trade. You can just see that MACD value there, negative 0.1045. We will see if there's any other trades out there, but seeing as we are already in 2 trades with 4 currency pairs, I don't think we're going to find anything. That Euro Australian dollar trade from yesterday would have had a nice move today. Don't think that would be take profit territory, but certainly in profit. No other trades available to us, so we're getting in this Euro Yen pair. Have a look at our ATR. 75.7 pips is the reading. That'll be the distance to our stop loss. And so you can see how we've calculated our risk on the screen now. Sell trade it is. All we got to do at that point is set our stop loss and 1.5 times that for the take profit. We are in the trade. Something I'm not liking is the fact that our take profit is below the support level. We cannot see a time where it was at that price. Let's have a look back. February the 23rd, that is. Hasn't been at that level since then. Maybe it's time now. This was a nice sell-off the last couple of days. So hope that continues. We do have 3 trades open though now. The only currency pair that we don't have an open trade in is the New Zealand dollar. Everybody else, get in here. And we can come back in 72 hours time after the weekend. Day 26, and it is the new week for our MACD EMA strategy. All 3 of our trades are still open. How are they doing? Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, not a lot of movement today. Did search up to a nice high level there. Not enough to take profit though, and no indicator change either. Great British pound, Australian dollar, we're in that sell trade. Price moved back against us today, in profit still by just a touch. We want a big sell off though, because this MACD has turned against us and the price not that far from the moving average. So some movement tomorrow. And finally the Euro Japanese yen. We entered this one Friday and it really did come close to our stop loss today. Price up that far before it reverses down. Losing money at the moment, we are $23 down, but some consolidation can be expected. Hopefully it's not enough to search for any highs that take our stop loss, but in fact the opposite, come back down, bring us to glory, so we can take that profit with both hands open. As all 3 of our trades are still open, that means we are still using 6 of the 7 currency pairs, which means there won't be any signals out there for us, but let's see if there is anything of interest. Looks like the pound yen would have given a bad sell signal around here. 2 green days since then, and quite a high on that as well. Likely would have hit a stop loss. Euro Aussie dollar pair would be looking okay if you got in around about here. Not likely at profit yet, but chugging in the right direction. Good luck to you if you are in on that trade. Signal coming on the Euro Great British Pound. This has been an incredibly inconsistent currency pair over the last week or 2. If you were taking every signal on this, you'd be in a buy trade over here, then back in with a sell trade here, which we did have the option to. We took a different trade before immediately in a buy trade up right at the top. Down it comes, puts you in a sell trade. Definitely makes me feel like it's going to reverse up. Obviously though, no new action for us, which means we can just let these 3 currency pairs ride and come back tomorrow to see if we can finally get some more profit going again. Feels like a long time now since we did take some. Day 27. All 3 of our currency pairs remain open at the moment. CAD Swissy first. Did find a new high today and closing a lot better than the last couple days. One more push to a new high in the next couple days should see that take profit go. No change in the indicator signals, so let's go to the Great British Pound Australian dollar. Went pretty far against us this morning. Did head for our stop loss right up there. It's come back though, and importantly below the moving average, so we don't have to close it. If it closed that high then we would have done, but we remain about neutral with it, minus 17 cents as I speak this sentence. So we can freely keep this one open as well. Our Euro Yen pair though, this one not looking as good. The high was a touch above yesterday's and it's come dangerously close to our stop loss again. We're about 3/4 of the way there. Not surprised that we're not making traction with the lows down here. But maybe we do see some sort of tragic instant occur across the Eurozone and price comes plummeting down tomorrow all the way to our take profit. We can hope, we can hope. Indicators are still good. We've got the moving average as you can see up here. MACD not entirely clear, but if we hover over it, negative 0.0103 is the reading, so still below 0 for now. As all 3 of these are open, we know there's not going to be any new trades out there, but let's still see if anything wild is happening out there on the charts. New Zealand dollar yen moving very close to a buy signal. If we can get past this resistance level here, potential nice trend there. If we get knocked out of the Euro Yen trade and get the signal on this one, it could work out nicely in the end. 0 line crossover comes on the pound yen as well. There's been signals aplenty if you are trying to scalp on the daily chart, if that's even a thing. Look at this continued sell-off on the Euro CAD. If you'd got in even about here, this would be a really nice run for you over the last few weeks. This Australian dollar Swiss franc chart has been lethal. It gave a positive value here and then moved to a negative value down there before recrossing now again to a positive value, all whilst doing it up and down over the moving average. Good thing we managed to avoid those signals. Wouldn't have lost too much, but would just be constantly opening and closing trades within this range. That's all of our charts checked though. Another hard day's work is complete. Let's come back tomorrow and I could see 2 of our trades having triggered by then. Possibly the CAD Swissy in our favour for around about $150 profit. And on the flippity flip, the euro yen for a negative 100. Still though, let's hope they both get to that profit line. We'll see. Day 2.8. What? Sorry, day 28. And we've got our 3 trades here, all of them still open. CAD Swissy, it couldn't reach into those new highs, came down to a low before reversing. So we're still in a similar sort of area to yesterday, about 60% of the way to the take profit. Pound Aussie dollar, found a new high, got closer to the stop loss, but did come red in the end. We're in a touch of profit even after those expensive swaps. Do think it can get there though. If we can stave off any more green days, let's have a couple big red candles, step down like that, and we'll grab a winner. Euro yen's made a bit of a comeback for us from where we were yesterday. Look at how close this got to our stop loss. Wow. That's it on the 15-minute chart. It is right up there. It got incredibly close. Only 1 or 2 pips away there, but we are still in it, and we do see a decent red candle in the end. Quite a low as well. More of that, and you never know. Maybe we can stretch our way all the way to this take profit. Still don't really see it happening, but if it does, yeah, then pretty great that we missed that stop loss. But we keep the MACD in favor as well. It had looked like it was going to flip, but thanks to this candle, we see it stable out and, of course, below the average. Let's have a look around those other charts. We're not going to be taking any trades, but maybe there's something interesting going on. Great British Pound New Zealand dollar finds its way to a close above the moving average. Haven't seen that since August. No trade though. This buy trade right here on the pound yen would be a little shaky. Does look like it would have been heading out for a close immediately here had we taken that trade. Probably not a full stop loss here, but nevertheless coming back below that average on the first histogram bar. Not a good sign if you are trading this pair with this strategy. If you are doing that, let me know how it goes. The Euro CAD into the red it goes another day. Sell-off intensifies. I'm not looking forward to seeing this when I do the RSI strategy. And this disgusting range on the Australian dollar Swiss franc pair continues. It is back with another red day now. Imagine if you were the kind of person who was getting into trades when this price dipped above or below the moving average. Not pretty. That is everything though. No action, no new trades once again, but that's fine as long as we can take triple profits on these by the end of tomorrow. We'll be back in 24 hours to find that out. Day 29, and we have managed to take profit on our CAD Swiss franc trade. $150.62 plus $2.50 on the swap. Not all bad. There's the trigger there. It is right up towards the high of the day, but we don't mind. We've taken all the money we can from this one. Now I have to wait for another signal to come. Our other 2 trades are still going. Promising day for the pound Aussie dollar. Did come red again. Hopefully this doesn't make a support level, but rather keeps coming down, eventually triggering that take profit. Meanwhile, Euro Yen moving back against us a touch, but still room to move. Really not much movement at all today on the Euro Yen. Pretty quiet day. Let's have another red volatile day like this. Not one that triggers the stop loss, but no, heads in the other direction. Down, 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 straight into that take profit. We can only hope. The MACD is still good for us here, but it's not that far. We do have to keep an eye on it because it could sneak across that 0 line very easily. Now that our CAD Swiss franc trade has triggered to the good, that means both those currencies are open to us to take trades on. Let's have a look through those charts, see if we do have any signals. Getting very close on the New Zealand dollar Japanese yen pair. Price just above the average. Don't know if I would trust the move. We wouldn't be able to get in on it at the moment anyway, but maybe the next couple of days we'll see it come. Euro CAD, the sell-off continues. Another red day. Traders and investors absolutely gasping for that Canadian dollar in favor of the euro. See if that carries on much longer. Not a lot of action for us on the charts then. We remain with our 2 trades open, and hopefully we'll see them take profit yet. We'll be back in 24 hours time, going into the weekend to see how they're doing. Day 30, unlucky for some, and it's bad news we're starting off with. The euro Japanese yen currency pair. It's taken a hit today. Our stop loss has been triggered, and price has gone quite a bit further as well. $101.44 lost on the trade, plus $3.77 on the swap, for a total of $105.21 down. Not surprised we missed out on that one. It was nearing a support level anyway. Didn't get there. Now reversed. In fact, it's reversed enough where price is above the moving average, and also the MACD has crossed 0, so it's enough of a move to give us a signal to get back into a buy trade, go the other way with it. Always seems a bit risky, but I didn't put a rule in the system to stop this. So we go ahead with the trade if there isn't anything better else out there. Our pound Aussie dollar trade, touch of green against us, did have a run to a high, almost back at our entry price, but maintains about a third of the way to our take profit. Nothing for us to do with this trade. Price still below the average, MACD still below zero. See if we've got any other trades out there. Or we'll be back in with a buy trade on that euro yen. Well, straight off the bat here, it is difficult to see, but on the New Zealand dollar Japanese yen, we're getting a buy signal in favor of the NZD. So now we've got the euro and the New Zealand dollar both gunning for a trade against the yen. See if there's any more out there. Our CAD Swiss franc trade would have had a tidy day here. Took us out yesterday at what looked like it was going to be the top, but what a run today. That would have been an extra 35 pips. Potential case forming for a trading stop loss in this strategy. Pound Swissy nearing a buy signal in favor of the pound. If we see a day where price is carried over the moving average, the MACD will shift above zero as well. Potential there coming up. And guess what, on the Euro CAD, it's the biggest red day of the week. Sell-off continues. Wow. No more trade entries for us then, which means it is between the Euro Yen and the New Zealand Dollar Yen pair, which is why we've got the Euro New Zealand Dollar chart pulled up here. Price has been pretty rangy the last few days, but today's day, that's the important one. Whichever currency had a stronger day today, that is the one we go for. And so in this case, we can see a green candle in favor of the euro, which is indicating to us that it is safer to go into the euro yen trade than it is for the New Zealand dollar yen trade. So we say goodbye to the NZD yen chart and let us be reborn on the euro yen chart. Rise from the ashes. Hopefully this isn't a resistance level up here. Don't like the idea of this just bouncing up and down in this range here. We are getting a reading of 77.2 pips from our ATR, which means we can calculate our risk and put that on screen now. 2% risk, one trade only. Let's buy that euro. Out with the old and in with the new. We will wait with bated breath to see how that goes. It is the weekend, so we'll have to wait a couple of days before we find out the fate of these trades. Day 31. Hey, it's good news. We got take profit on both those trades. Start with the Great British Pound Australian dollar. Large red candle coming against the pound, exactly what we wanted. Did carry on past that, but we took $152.20 from it. 687 off that for the swap, but still very profitable. Nice trade. And then the euro yen, it's triggered as well, the take profit. We were in that bad sell trade right there. Stop loss got triggered. But hey, we've made that money back and more. $147.41, less a 76-cent swap. Very nice on both fronts. And now that means we've got no active trades open. There might be trades out there waiting for us. Let's go find out. Just a note, if we'd taken the New Zealand dollar yen trade instead of the euro yen trade, that one looks like it would have been a take profit too. Just a really weak day for the yen. Even the pound came out on top against the Japanese yen today. Pound looked like it had a pretty poor day on a couple of the previous charts, but nothing compared to the yen. Pound Swiss franc, we'd need to see quite a green candle come. If this high of today had been the close, very likely that would have been an entry signal. Now, even if the MACD flips, might not get across the average. No trade entry signals though, so we'll sit with no trades open. Really happy to take profit on two of those trades today though. See what's happening tomorrow. Day 32, no active trades for us. So let's see if there's any entry signals out there. Could see one on the New Zealand Swiss franc in the coming days. Price just about going to get above that average. And the MACD getting towards the zero line. Pound Swiss franc giving us a very narrow signal, but a signal nonetheless to the buy side. Price is a touch above that moving average and the MACD is coming above zero. We'll come back to this one if there's no other trades out there. Also a sell signal coming on the Euro New Zealand dollar pair. So now two potential trades we've got. No overlap on any of the currency pairs. No other trades out there for us. So let's take these two. First we'll go for the Great British Pound Swiss franc. Let's have a look at that ATR at the average true range. 92.8 pips, that is the reading. So we'll put our risk on the screen now for that one. Let's buy our way in. And who could forget our stop loss and take profit. 1 times ATR for the stop loss and 1.5 for the take profit. Not too bad looking at all, definitely got some room there. And our take profit up at the resistance level, not beyond it, so there's a chance we could poke to that. We'll of course keep an eye on that one. But we've got another trade to get into. It's the Euro New Zealand dollar pair. This one's going sell side. Let's grab up the average true range here as well. 124.4 pips, quite a bit more than the pound Swissy. And so our risk is on the screen. And we'll sell this market. And let's just punch in that information here. That's 124.4 pips. And for the take profit, 186.6. This one does look like there's quite a way to go to the take profit, but both trades have a fair shot, and we'll see how they're getting on when we come back tomorrow. Day 33, let's take a look at our trades. And it's bad news on the pound Swiss franc. We were in a buy trade, prices come red though, and because we got in after a very timid move above the moving average, it's come immediately back below the average. So we've lost our signal there, and we will close off that trade manually now. A loss of $36.49 because we did get 6 cents back on the swap. Not the worst loss, but still not ideal to be in off this signal and then straight back out the day after. Meanwhile, on our sell trade in the Euro New Zealand dollar pair, prices come green a bit. It did head towards the stop loss, but has since rescinded most of that move. Hopefully that can move to profit. No change in the indicators for this currency pair. Let's see if there's any other trade entries out there. The euro sees a green day against the Canadian dollar. It's been a rare sighting over the last few weeks. If we see a big run on price for the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar, MACD will cross above zero. Maybe we could get above that average. Seems unlikely, but there's no real action on the charts tonight. So we'll just have to come back tomorrow and see if there's any entries then. Didn't look promising. Hopefully this Euro New Zealand dollar trade cracks on southward. Let's see some red. Day 34. And we're actually having some technical difficulties with the broker that we're using for the MACD EMA strategy. Trying to log into them and it's saying service not available. Hopefully that is just a temporary issue which resolves itself. But in the meantime, I've logged on to a different demo broker and we are looking at the Euro New Zealand dollar chart. We got into a sell trade around about here. At the moment, it wouldn't quite have taken profit, not just yet, but looking really nice. Definitely looking like it could take it. We were down about here for the take profit, I do believe. But certainly thought this one was going to be a stretch, and now it's really pushing off in that direction. Good thing with the issues that we can just let this one run and don't have to manually close it off. Let's have a look at the other charts, see if anything's going on out there. Very almost seeing a signal on the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc pair. Price shot up above the moving average, allowing you to take buy signals, and the MACD also up a lot, but still ever so slightly negative. Currently reading negative 0.000002. That could come. Pound New Zealand dollar coming into that signal as well. One more red day against the pound and the signal will arrive. No new signals for us anyway, so the broker issues aren't immediately affecting the strategy. You never know, maybe it's all fixed within 24 hours. We'll find out then. Day 35, the end of the week is here. Where do we start? First off, our broker does seem to have fixed whatever issues they were having. We are back online, regular service has been resumed. So there was a 1-day outage thereabouts for that broker. Don't know what the issue was. Did try and look them up, but I think they're pretty small time. They didn't even have a website. So there we go. The important thing is the issue is fixed. Also, there was an update for Metatrader, our platform here. You might be able to tell some of the design here. It looks a little bit sleeker, I guess. Good for them. But possibly the best bit of news, our Euro New Zealand dollar trade has taken profit and it has gone further since then. Pretty impressed by the sell-off against the euro. This is a low for a good while. Haven't seen a low at this stage for quite some time, so wasn't confident that we would be able to get there. But it only took a few days in the end and we got paid for the experience. 69 cents in the swap and we took profit of $171.23. That's quite a decent amount of profit because we rounded up the risk. It was thereabouts 0.1254. So getting pretty near to about as big as a roundup as you can. And in this instance, it did pay off for us. So that's that Euro New Zealand dollar trade done. Now up to $5,542.82 in the account. Started at $4,932.29. Currently the strategy is up at $610.53 in 7 weeks. Been pretty lucky for us and we've got no trades open now. So let's see if we can find some. And it didn't take long. We've got a signal on the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc. When we were selling off the euro, we were going in favor of the New Zealand dollar. And as this one will be against the Swiss franc, it's a pretty similar signal. Still a signal though. See if we've got any other entries out there. or we will be in on this one. The Great British Pound and New Zealand dollar giving a signal as well. It's a sell signal against the pound, so again in favour of the New Zealand dollar. 2 opportunities for us so far. See if there's any more. Just for interest, here's that Euro Japanese Yen chart where we previously had 2 back-to-back trades. If you got in the sell trade originally and you were stubborn about it, look how badly it would be going for you now. It's about 3% difference since then. But we moved with the system, we took it out, and we got into a buy trade right back in. If we were running a trailing stop loss on this trade, it would be going even nicer right now. The push against the yen across all currency pairs is really continuing. No other trade entries available for us. That means we are down to a buy trade on the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc pair or a sell trade on the Great British Pound and New Zealand dollar pair. We are deferring here to our Great British Pound Swiss franc chart, and we are looking specifically at who had a stronger day today. And we can see from this green candle here, pretty large green candle as well, found a decent high right up there. It is the Great British Pound which is stronger, and that means we would rather trade against the Swiss franc than we would the Great British Pound. So it can only be the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade for us. Let's pull up that average true range. And that is giving us a reading of 55.2 pips. 2% risk all the way to that stop loss. So that is our risk calculated on screen now. So let's buy that New Zealand dollar. And now we can set our stop loss at 552 pips and 1.5 times that number, 828 points to the take profit. That stop loss right at the lower today, so we don't want to see that reverse. The take profit, it is out there a bit. It's certainly going to have to break through this resistance level here and head towards the top right there, this sort of zone. Doesn't have to make it much past there though, it can just probe into there and take profit for us. But that is us in our trade, and we'll be back in 72 hours time after the weekend to check in on how it's going. Pretty strong week for us, 3 winning trades and only 1 losing trade which we had to shut down for only $36.55. Very positive to see. Day 36, we are at the start of week 8. Back on the charts, how's our New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade looking? Not too bad, about $24 up at the moment. Bit of a weird gap between Friday and today, because we can see the last 15 minutes on Friday had a real sell-off the New Zealand dollar. But then over the weekend, they changed their mind, and we did have quite a bit of a gap up as it reopened after the weekend. Nothing for us to do with the trade though, both indicators giving us the buy signal still, which means we can just have a look at those other charts, see if there are any signals for us. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar getting close. Obviously we're in the NZD at the moment, but if we were to take profit, this is just crossed over 0 on the MACD histogram. Price is still below the moving average, which means it's got 2 days to get across there. Could work out nicely on the timing, or we could just miss the signal if it even comes. Pound New Zealand dollar, if you'd got in a sell trade here against the pound, you'd be looking all right about now. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar almost coming up on a signal as well. If another day of red comes, we're likely to see that MACD crossover. Already got the price below the moving average. Sadly, no more trade entries for us tonight. We'll just keep our New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade open and see if we can find some tomorrow. Day 37, and we are looking at pretty good. Our New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade has taken profit. We got paid 44 cents from the swap for the trade, and so in total we made $179.91. Really good. Keep building it up. Very nice trade. That's 2 winning trades we've had here now on the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc. That one right there, and this one coming as well. Strong day for the New Zealand dollar. That does put our balance now above $5,700, and we've got no active trades at the moment. Let's go see if we can find any. And the New Zealand dollar has been strong across the board, so we are getting that signal we talked about yesterday on the New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. It's come through. Price has gone all the way above the average, and we're only on the second candle. Remember, we would have until the end of tomorrow to get this signal, but it's come for us now. Let's see if there's any other signals out there. Otherwise, we'll get in on this one. Worth noting as well, if we had taken that Great British Pound New Zealand dollar trade, if we went a bit overboard on the risk, just because we couldn't help ourselves, we would have taken profit. I would say pretty far there. It's just been so strong for the NZD the last week or two. Well, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar is giving us a signal. And currently I can already say between this one and the New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, we will choose to go for the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Usually we'd have a look at today on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar chart, see which one was stronger. But because this is the first bar to cross over on the histogram, we are going to treat it as a slightly more valid signal than on the New Zealand dollar Canadian dollar, where it's the second bar of the MACD histogram. That's our reasoning so far while we're looking at the Australian dollar New Zealand dollar pair, but let's see if there's anything else out there still. If we were going based on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar chart, we've seen the Australian dollar has had a better day. Big green candle actually, and a signal almost coming. That's the fourth bar of the MACD histogram. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just missed out on the signal by one histogram bar, but it doesn't make us feel great because it means that we would rather trade against the Canadian dollar if we were going on that basis. But as I've said, we've got to treat first histogram bar zero line crossovers as the priority, and so it does mean that for us the Australian dollar New Zealand dollar pair is the one. We'll sell off the market. Hopefully we don't get a return on price. If we see a green day here, could easily have to close this down back across the moving average. So let's pull up our ATR, and that is reading 49.7 pips. We are going to risk 2% of that mark, and so you can see that risk calculated on screen now. We'll sell off the Australian dollar, and we'll do our stop loss 497 points, and 1.5 times that, 746. There we go. So we do see our take profit level in a pretty nice region, nowhere near going below the support level. Price could come back down. Maybe we'll see it trigger. I'm not the most confident in it, but I've said that about plenty of trades and it's turned out differently. Let's hope this is one of those. We'll be back tomorrow to find out how it's going. Day 38, and our trade hasn't moved too much, but it has gone in our favor. Around about $25 up at the moment. This is going to be expensive to hold though. We got $2.06 they charged us for last night. And we've got the 3-day swaps tonight. Yeesh, that's going to be $6.18 we carry over tonight. Starting to get expensive very quickly. Best remedy for that is for price to gun it down towards our take profit, trigger it and get us out of the trade. Nothing for us to do though. Price still south of the moving average and MACD is still below zero. See if there's any other trades out there. Strength to strength for the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. If you were in this trade from here with a trailing stop loss, it's about 6% in your favor, 470 pips. Really nice move, really big shoe. Our New Zealand dollar Swiss franc trade that we jumped out of, that would be going a little bit more profitable as well. See where that move tops off. I had the option of this CAD trade and that would be a bit to our favor as well. 420 points, 42 pips. Great British pound, Canadian dollar. MACD shifts itself above the zero line. We see the two lines cross. Price is below the average though, no signal for us. Euro New Zealand dollar would have been a nice trade to be in as well. You can see where we were. We took profit here about 206 pips in, but now all the way to around about 463. A lot of money to be made. It does feel without the trading stop loss, we can sometimes be leaving those profits on the table. Just something to consider. No new trades for us though. That is the headline as we near the end of the day. We'll allow our Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar trade to crack on. Hopefully get some profit. How about that? We'll be back tomorrow. Day 39 into the final hour of the day. And the sell trade we have on the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar pair. Yeah, it does move a bit more in our favour. These are pretty small red days. We want to see more of this kind of size. But hey, better to be some red than some green. Nothing for us to do with it. Let's see if there's any other trades out there. We are now seeing a pullback on the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc. Makes this take profit up here look pretty good right now. Pound CAD has one more day tomorrow to get all the way above that moving average to give us a signal. We've had a 1-2 histogram bars, that one right there, negative 0.000053. So if it gets over there by the end of tomorrow, yeah, we'll be in. If it does. But there are no trades for us to enter tonight, so we will just carry on with our Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar trade. Day 40, we are at the end of the week, and what a save on our Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar trade. We can see how close that was on the 1-day chart. Let's take a look at it with the 15 minutes, and you can see that is pretty close. Only about 2 pips away from triggering the stop loss. Price makes a return though, comes back down. And if we do end up taking profit, we will feel very lucky to have avoided that. Back in place below the moving average as well, so we are down, but that's because we're paying through the nose for it with these swaps. Had it 3 days and costing us $10.29. Not ideal, but we keep it open, and we'll see if we've got any other trades out there. Canadian dollar Swiss franc makes the cross below zero on the MACD. Price above the average though, no signal. Pound Swiss franc been coming down sharply as well. Price is below the average. MACD is still above zero at the moment, but another day like that and it will cross, no doubt about it. No new trades for us tonight, and not a lot of interesting stuff going out on the charts either. So we'll just stick it out with the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar trade. Hopefully this retracement up to the stop loss where it just fell short. Hopefully that is the retracement, and now it's done, wanting to continue a downward trend. We'll see in 72 hours time. Day 41, still got our trade open, and it came pretty close to the stop loss again, not as close as it did on Friday, but only about 7 or 8 pips off again. About $30 down. We've still got our signal though. The MACD is below 0 and price is below the average. Let it roll on, and maybe there's some entry signals out there for us. Worth mentioning, this will be the last week that we're taking entry signals. This is week 9, so we'll take signals all this week right up until the end of Friday. And then after that, if we've got any trades open, we'll just see those ones through to the end. Hopefully we get a couple more still. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc pair, one more day to make it across the moving average. And to get there, it is going to have to be a heck of a day for the Swiss franc, or an appalling day for the Canadian dollar. Doubt that one will come for us. Great British pound, Swiss franc rebounding from a potential signal as well. Had looked like a red day could come and see us in. No such luck. Unfortunately, no signals for us today. 4 days left to try and get some. Be back tomorrow. Day 42, our trade is moving against us. Previously, it just made highs that were close to the stop loss, and now we're seeing the close get nearer to it. Very near being manually shut down as well. Just looking at where that price is, not past the moving average, directly on top of it, so we don't need to close it down. We can let it press on, although I'm not super confident in where it's going to go from here. Let's see if we've got any other trades out there. CAD yen pair, was hoping the MACD was going to cross over 0 to potentially open up a recross, but after 2 green candles in a row, it's going to start turning again. Pound Swiss franc really ranging, a lot of uncertainty. We thought we were going to get a sell signal. Now it's turned again, but receded quite a bit from that high. Bit of a wacky chart. End of the third histogram for the MACD crossover on the Euro CAD. Couldn't pull a green day out the bag of 360 pips. No surprise, but no signal. No signals again for us today. We leave it with the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and we've got 3 nights left for trade entries. We'll be back tomorrow to see if we get any. Day 43, bad news for us. Our stop loss did trigger. It was only a few hours after we checked in last night. Bit of a rush up on price, has come back since. Irrelevant to us though. We are out $130.51 because a swap of $16.47. It's an expensive loss to pay for. No other active trades. Let's see if there's any others out there waiting for us. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen pair. Hard to tell, but this MACD is about to cross beneath the area. Just about there. Not a signal for us because price is above the moving average, but with such a shallow signal and retracement on the price of the day, could easily be a green candle that flips it right back over and gives us the crossover for a buy signal. Signal does come on the pound Swiss franc. MACD crosses beneath 0 and the price is below the average. Not the most confident signal, but a signal nonetheless. Let's check for any others first. Alright then, no other trades for us. Let's put up an average true range. Based on our default 14 period input, that is 76.1 pips. That will be our stop loss. You can see our risk calculated on screen now. A big round down for us. 0.1349 has to go all the way down to 0.13. Let's sell some pounds. Why not, of course, set the stop loss and the take profit. Stop loss 1 times ATR, take profit 1.5 times. It's possible that we get there. I can't rule it out entirely, obviously. I mean, we've been there before. These lows, maybe they take profit, but certainly over here did. Hopefully we can get down there with a few days like this, take some profit. We'll be back on the charts this time tomorrow. Day 44. How's our trade looking? Not too bad. About a third of the way to our take profit. Can't ask for too much more than that after just 1 day in the trade. Obviously our indicators are still to the trade's favour, so we can just see if there's any new entries out there. Euro Great British Pound makes the crossover on the MACD. Price still below the moving average though. Normally we'd be giving it until the 3rd bar to get in, but tomorrow is the last day of us taking trade entries, so it's only got tomorrow to get across that moving average. Doesn't seem probable. We'd also have to get out of this trade as well. No new signals for us. As I said, last day for entries tomorrow, so we can squeeze another 1 or 2 out of it. We'll be back. Day 45, it's Friday, the end of the week, and this is the last day for us taking signals on our MACD EMA strategy. First, let's have a look at our pound Swissy trade. going quite nicely to our favor. Hasn't taken the profit yet, but it's certainly in the zone, about 3/4 of the way there. We're happy to keep that one going. It's only been open for 2 days so far, so that's a pretty nice move. The last time that we took a win, that took 7 days there, although it only took a 1 for this loser right here. Let's see one more time around if there are any new entry signals for us. We do have a crossover on the Euro-Japanese yen pair, but we are filtered out by the moving average. That is a shame. And I'm just looking at this trade we had previously. Well, that would have gone a lot further with a trading stop loss. Probably about 2 or 3 times as much to the top. Missed a trick there. At least we took profit though. The Euro Great British Pound currency pair couldn't make it over the average today. In fact, went in the other direction. Would have been nice to see a signal come there, even if we couldn't take it. That is it for us though. No new entry signals, which means we have only got one trade to see out. And that is obviously our pound Swiss franc trade right here. We aren't going to close it out now. We are going to let it run until its a logical conclusion. We will be checking in daily at the trade and we'll report back once it is completed. And of course, following that will be our final thoughts on the strategy. Day 46. Got 'em. Took the profit first day after we stopped taking entry signals. And it's an excellent win. $162.24 less $6.35 in the swap gives us $155.89 for the win. And do you know what? This has been a strong sell-off of the pound today, certainly at least against the franc, because we took profit at 1.24996, now all the way down at 1.24182. It's about another 70 or 80 pips that it's run. And it makes us think again about the trailing stop loss and how many of these trades have actually benefited from it. We'll have one last look through the charts and see how much we think trailing stop losses would have got us versus the ratio take profits that we were using. Might as well start on the pound Swiss franc. As I said, this one right now would have been nice, a strong move that's come down. Don't think it would have made a difference on these other two trades. You might have got a little bit more out of this one, but remember, it's not going to get you out of the very peak, the trailing stop loss. So the fact that this is only about 47, 48 pips, I don't think you would have got much more out of that one. And there was this insta close trade as well. That wouldn't have made a difference to any trading stop loss. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Again, these two trades, we had 2 winning trades on this currency pair. Don't know if trading stop loss would have helped much on the first one. What are we looking at? It was about 80 pips. Yeah, you could get a little bit more out of that one. It does take a while before it actually retraces to a lower price. This latest one, it wouldn't have helped though. In fact, we would have probably made more from the ratio there. It does go a little bit higher than where we were stopped out, but it's really not a lot. Great British Pound, Australian dollar. Trailing stop on this one is potential for it to be nice. To be honest, it completely depends on whether you get caught out in this retracement. That is 185 pips. So I think it's pretty likely that you get to a low around about here, but the trading stop loss is within this range. And so in fact, you probably don't get more out of it. But if you have given yourself enough room to avoid that retracement, so far you'd be catching a very nice part of the move. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. This definitely wouldn't have helped with the trading stop loss. We got out quite near the bottom. It was a bit of a snatch and grab of the profits there before a sustained reversal that we've seen since towards the end of September. This one's a good one for the ratio. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc. Yeah, trading stop loss might have got you a little bit more. Finished up there. It's about another 90 pips, so not a lot. Maybe some. Euro Japanese yen, the trading stop loss would have put some work in on this last trade. It only took 1 day for us to take profit, but there was another 5 or 6 green days on the bounce. And you'd probably trigger around about this area between these 2 red candles here. This particular one, much nicer with a trading stop loss. Euro New Zealand dollar pair. It's another one that looked like a trading stop loss. Might have got you some more from our close there. It's about another 300 pips down. A lot of the time it just depends on whether these retracements get you or not. That high could get you potentially. Hard to know. A bit of a mix, but certainly some of those trades did look like they could have benefited from a trading stop loss. So if you did want to use the trading stop loss, or a mix of both with the ratio trades and the trading stop loss at play, they both look like they've got potential to work. One more time, let's check out in the journal and see how the strategy is done as a whole. Our final journal, here it is. Let's first go down to the bottom line. $815.82 profit in total. Starting balance was $4,932.29, and we closed it out at $5,748.11. That's about a 16.5% increase in 46 days. That's trading days, so just over 9 weeks, and we took 16 trades in that time. Pretty strong strategy. Don't know if it'll be able to extend this kind of run forever, but certainly from what we've seen, it's been quite consistent. Let's go back to the top and check out those starting trades. We hit a nice run to begin with. These first 4 trades, they're worth about $500. So if instead of getting $500 in profit, they were all losses for around about $100, that would be a $900 swing, which would put us at a profit. Just goes to show that there is potential for particularly bad runs to put you under. But having said that, even in that situation, you wouldn't be under by too much. And we did hit a bit of a poor run around here. This was mid-September time. And then it was a little bit down for us. You can see 22nd of September a loss, 23rd, 28th. Definitely a weaker period at the end of September. But once October started, we got back to our winning ways. In terms of the amount of trades that we were losing and winning on, they were pretty similar. But as we had that 1.5 times ATR for our take profit, it meant that in this stage we were still accumulating a bit more money. Then finally in the second half of October it really picked up. In the last 2 and a bit weeks there, 3 really strong winning trades and only 1.5 losers in response. It was a pretty well managed strategy. And there wasn't so many times where we had to close a trade because of a reverse signal. We did have that pound Swiss franc for 36.55 and we had to close this Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar manually. But that was for profit after the swaps. It wasn't that much profit, around about $15. But most of these trades were permitted by the rules to get to their conclusion of either a stop loss or a take profit. So we like that. A lot of the time you can find with certain indicators they can flip back and forth too quickly. But the MACD does seem to have a nice pace on it. Our moving average, it didn't really cause us any trouble either. 60 periods was quite nice. And a couple of these trades we were able to get wins on after the third histogram bar crossed over. So I think it was good to wait for that as well. Give it those couple days opportunity to catch up. You don't want to let it go too far because at a certain point the move is just going to be finished. But both indicators served their purpose. And let's not forget the average true range, one indicator, amazingly helpful for measuring out risk through volatility. And it's done us good here. So we can all be very pleased with the results. That's it for the journal. Let's just give our final thoughts on the strategy. Final thoughts. First off, we can be pleased that above all else, the strategy was profitable, decently profitable as well. It didn't just limp into profitability right at the very end. That's all we can hope for. And as you saw in the journal, the strategy generated a balance increase of approximately 16.5% over a period of 46 trading days. Those are quite strong numbers, so it is worth noting that over the course of a year or multiple years, it may not hold up to that standard if you were to hit a bad run or two over an extended period. Based off the results we've seen though, maybe it could. It was a decent number of trades that we took as well, 16 over those 46 days, so around about once every 3 days we would get a signal that we were able to take. It means that we are regularly getting entries, but not just throwing ourselves into any signals here, there and everywhere. Throughout the strategy, we did receive a lot more entry signals, but oftentimes we couldn't take those signals as we were already in a trade which involved one of the currencies from that newer signal. Following that process of not getting into multiple currency pairs involving the same currency will almost certainly save you money in the long run, as if you do enter say 5 trades all selling off the euro against other currencies, you could get rocked by a haymaker of a day and suddenly be fighting an uphill struggle to get back into profitability. Speaking of profitability though, we did take a deeper look at the end of the strategy to investigate whether we thought a trailing stop loss might prove better than the ratio-based profit that we were using. It remains a tough call as we saw some trades that would have made excellent use of a trailing stop loss and others where it would have botched out the trade. Something else that could be considered here is extending the ratio of the profit that you use. We applied a 1 to 1.5 times ATR ratio for more profits on a winning trade than losses on a losing trade. But you might want to push that even further and have that take profit level at 2 times the ATR value to try and squeeze out even more gains from it. That would have worked effectively on some of the trades that we took. Or, you could look at the profitability of the strategy as is and say to yourself that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No reason theoretically though that you can't test all those different profit taking styles just in case there is improvement to be had. So that is it from us on the MACD and EMA strategy. If you are jonesing for a bit more information though, you can find some of that in the description, so do take advantage of it. And a final word of warning to remember that this strategy was traded with demo money. If you are enticed by the results from this strategy to take it live and bet your remaining credit card balance on getting trading gains, then I can't tell you what not to do with your borrowed money. Thank you for watching. This is Project Trade. I am Darth Trader, and there will be more.